Good morning. While
Good
that's up there,
morning.
well, since it's there, let's just go ahead and leave it there. Let's just start off the show with shouting out Nectar Cleanses, Restore and Balance. All black owned in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Well, Crofton, technically, Crofton, Maryland. But check them out. Bringing California to the Maryland area, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Since it's there, why not? Good morning, everyone. Now I got to get it off. All right, get it. All right. So start off with this. Thank you to everybody in the chat. We said hey to Joey D, Darlene, Hugh,
Good morning,
KT.
everybody.
Oh my God, KT early. LKB, good morning. Good morning. Who else? Don D was in the house. Good morning, Don D. Good morning, everyone. So we're gonna go ahead and just kind of like start rolling through it with a couple of our, announcements. We already shouted out the juice bar since it was there. I just want to remind everybody on this weekend, November 11th, we will be vending at the Gettysburg Reptile Expo LLC. Me and my husband will be there again. Hope to see some of you guys again that we saw before. Definitely had a great time vending that show the last time. Looking forward to vending it again. We wanted to just go here. Oh, wait a minute. I wanted to show this because this is like, hopefully Elias is in the chat by the time this pops up, but I always give you guys a hard time. I thought this was absolutely funny. It was a post that was shared by my sister on social media, and it says, fuck around with Gen X and find out. I saw this on a millennials post. It's with the hostess, basically. And basically it said, I don't mess around with anyone over 42. They built different. Their families had them formally trained in something by the time they were 2. They had keys to the house by age 5, could cook full meals at 7, and were pretty much self-sufficient at 9. They left their house at dawn every summer morning. Why do I feel like somebody chewing? And didn't come back till nightfall and survived all day on water from garden hoses. They might get a sandwich on the off chance that somebody's parents had went shopping. They spent 3/4 of their lives by themselves with parent, maybe checking on them twice a month. Most of them have evaded at least one kidnapping attempt, and they know 15 different ways to remove blood stains from clothing. They the real fuck around and find out people. I thought that was absolutely hysterical. Because I always say that these newer generations are absolutely spoiled and entitled. We were survivors. And Dre, I want to hear, not all of us, because I know that's coming. I'm
I
talking about
mean, what I read sounded like a millennial. I can't speak for everybody, but that was my upbringing. But
that is
go off,
not a
sis.
millennial.
Go off, sis.
Y'all
Like
are
I
the
said,
most
like I said,
unsufficient
I
group of
can
people
speak.
ever.
I can speak on behalf of my upbringing. I can't talk about everybody else. But go off.
Damn it, that is not a millennial. God dang it.
I don't know. I met some of these
Millennials do shit like parents give them cars and shit, and then they say their parents don't do nothing for them. Like parents give them 3 cars.
Now, that sound like some Gen Z stuff. Come on now, don't do us like that. Because that Gen X, they the same motherfuckers that need help opening the email. You know what I'm saying? So come on
We
now.
are making it up. Hey,
You
but first of all, I'm better at all that. You gotta come at me with some more of the more creative stuff. Like, what the hell is a TikTok? What's the difference between a TikTok rose and a TikTok diamond type of thing? All that other stuff I got.
man, look, man, that's the
It was
relevant.
like, we need to talk.
She was like, well, do I gotta go live? She was like, who gonna send the invite? Do I gotta? I said, just go live, bro. Just go live. I got it.
Good morning. Oh God, what is that? It sounds like somebody is chewing. You don't hear that?
Probably the filter for the monitor I got going right now.
Oh,
The water, yeah. He's literally his enclosure sits right here on the floor next to where I do like my podcast and stuff at. So yeah, it's probably what you hear. If somebody chewing
Morning,
gum like
Chris.
that, they got a wet ass mouth.
It
Over
always
salivatory
does. Like,
gland.
good morning, Morgan. Oh, we appreciate you. We appreciate you. We definitely appreciate that. Dre recovering from last night, as usual, on a Monday morning on football season.
Hey, CJ, get out my business. You was out there with me too, bro.
Who said that was the one? True way to grow up. I ran Linux service for the Steam claiming platform. Emails were the same. Simplest things to learn. Funny. So before we get right into our topic, we want to just make sure we get into our acknowledgement for the brother, Brian Barchak. So this morning, I chose the Psalm 103, 2-3. Bless the Lord, all my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquities, who heals all your diseases. So keeping Brian in our prayers, keeping him lifted. I mean, the man has more energy than most of us on his supposedly worst days, I guess. He definitely stay up on social media way more than I do. So shout out to Brian, living your best life while you can, which we all should be doing. I want to take a moment.
Ain't he Gen X?
Huh?
I said he do stay on social media and he understands it. Ain't he Gen X?
He got a lot of help. He got money. He got coins. He got people right here with cameras and stuff.
You got money too, but proceed.
Excuse me. Look, I can have whatever I have in the bank. It has to keep telling you it has to last me a lifetime. I'd be damned if I'm paying a cameraman, okay? In fact, that wouldn't even pass Slim's approval. Slim wouldn't sign off on that one. People like, you may go get Michael like usual. Michael don't turn that camera to the side.
Michael hit me up. He said he's sick of your shit. Leave him alone.
I'm so proud. Actually, my last couple videos, I think Michael might have been a videographer. He did really, really good. So Michael's thing is, because of his disability, is his attention. So he won't focus just on you. If something happens on the left or the right, the camera's gonna go there. It won't have nothing to do with the video. But he did really, really good on the last two. He's getting better and better. Actually, one of the things I think I am going to get, but I'm gonna get it for him for Christmas. It's one of those, like the vlogging cameras with the where you can see the words and stuff. I don't know the fancy word for it, but yeah. So before we move on, I want to take a moment just to send my prayers to my sister Angela. Loss of her daughter. Just going to keep it in prayers. Won't go into details at this time. Just know that we are definitely praying for you. I'll see y'all real soon. Hopefully today when you back home. I watched Tina grow up as a little girl, most beautiful baby you was ever going to see, most beautiful adult that you're going to see. And going through some of the things I've been through with my own daughter. It's a very touching situation. So I just want to say we love y'all, and we're family, and I'm here and I'll be there for you as much as I can possibly be. I know it's not much that anybody can say in this situation, nothing much that people can do to hit the situation. Angela sometimes watches the show. I'm sure she's not watching this morning, but just love y'all. And we'll get through this. You'll get through this, y'all. That's one strong family. The McLean family, my McLean sisters are a phenomenal family. You guys will get through this. I know it's a different level, but you'll get through it. Love y'all. And I wanted to make sure we covered. Dre, are you doing TikTok? What is your TikTok schedule? Is that Friday night every Friday? First of all, I don't appreciate you doing TikToks on a Friday night. I'm never going to be able to see them half the time because I'm on here now most of the time, or not on Facebook or social media at all.
Listen here. Number one, I don't have a schedule. I go live whenever the TikTok.
Every Friday is popping.
You interrupted me.
Okay.
Whenever I feel the TikTok spirit move me, I go live. Number two, I understand it's only 7 days in the week, and everybody got something going every single one of them days. I get in where I fit in because I got to handle my business, get my content out too. So I send out the invites, and whoever show up, and whoever don't. I appreciate the ones that do. But
I'm just saying. Oh, it's a but to this.
I went live twice on a Friday in the past like 3 months. I've been going live more consistently in the daytime during my work schedule. So what you talking about?
I'll be busy.
Plus, I don't. And if we talk about things we don't appreciate, I don't appreciate
a whole facility over here.
I don't. You act like I ain't got my goddamn own. I don't appreciate you going live and not sending me an invite to be in there. You know what I'm saying?
Because I'm doing it random. First of all, one thing, I don't impose on anybody. I don't get it. First of all, y'all, it's so many lives now that it's just absolutely ridiculous. So I don't think no one can feel a certain way. If somebody
Time out. Y'all see how she just came at me for going on a Friday talking like, you know, I'm not gonna, and then I say something to her. She done popped out 2.5 excuses already.
No, what an excuse? It was the fact.
It's so many lies.
Wait a minute.
It is
That's
so
incorrect.
many lies.
No one heard me say because. I just said blah 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 blah. So I didn't give an excuse. It becomes an excuse when I put like something in front of them. What you call that? Like, what is that? A because. What you call it? What's the word for that in English? What is it?
It's all an excuse to me.
Elias. No.
It's all an excuse to me.
Okay. You know how you say because or if. What are those words? Elias.
Listen. Boy, that's that Gemini narcissism working today. Oh my goodness.
We are not narcissists.
She said, bro, see, they in the comments and say you straight gaslit me. They already know.
No, I got it to you, but you said that I gave an excuse. I gave 2 excuses. I'm clarifying that I didn't give no damn excuse. I'm 50 years old. I didn't give nobody but that one upstairs. Even that, like, I just piss him off to give him an excuse.
Straight up talking about.
But yeah, I just went into the fact that I just go and it wasn't the excuse stuff. Because it was like thing. Because blah 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 blah. I ain't say because. I went at it. I went like because you know yeah. So
I don't care if you said because with that being said or there. Right. I don't care what you said. It's all an excuse.
If I should have said, with that being said, to acknowledge what you said, and then went into the fact that, I mean...
Look, I'm going to keep it a buck. I don't care if you told me Jesus came back for the rapture. I'm still going to feel some type of way.
Elias, I hope you dropped it in the word. Is a grouping for those words. Prepositions?
Proposition. Well, no,
prepositions.
You're right.
I think it's preposition. That's a long time out of school for me. I need someone who really teach people today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Darlene.
But to answer your question, no, I don't have a schedule. I just go live sporadically. I've been trying to do it more so just during the week when my daughter's at school. That's when the time is more open for me. And yeah, so usually around mid-afternoons during the week. That's it. So no specific day. Just I will say though, for those that do watch my live, I won't be doing any more lives with the lizards.
What happened?
Nothing happened. Nobody watches those. They don't care to watch them. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit on here.
Not with the Cayman?
Yeah, nobody.
Absolutely weird when people.
So many people when I go live with the snakes. Oh my God, you have lizards. Where the lizards? All right, cool. I'm gonna go live with the lizards tomorrow at this time. I do that. I get like 4 people. I just be like, so. I mean, they ain't going nowhere, obviously. I'm still going to keep them. I ain't getting rid of them, but I'm just going to keep it about the snakes. So, yeah.
That's right, Chris. No, but the rock iguana, I can't believe, I just think maybe sometimes when you see, I never, see, the reason why I don't go live with the lizards is, especially the tegus. First of all, they be doing too much. Like you'll get one standing there, the other one is just went off and did something else. Or with Larry really don't like the camera. Let me take it back. One time on Hair Down, he sat there for a long time. But Larry don't like hearing all the different voices. So I don't like to put him like on a live because I have to hold him the entire time. He's big. So if I let him just randomly just do whatever. He can or the snake enclosures or whatever. Like he's big. So I'm normally holding him for a while. So I did hair down with him where he can sit on the sofa. But I never tried. I have to do a live one day.
And but I'm sure it will work well for you because you've never shown them off. So for you to pop out like, oh hey, here's my lizard. Me, I've shown most of mine. So we're gonna just get over because most people honestly they really only here for the Gila monster. The Gila monster is their favorite lizard for me to pull out. The Gila monster and Rocky, and then now Mushu, the monitor, they love him, but Mushu's still kind of skittish, so I'm still working with him. But other than that, they'd be like, yeah. But what lizard were you just talking about? What's his name?
Larry, the water monitor.
Okay, yeah. I like the way you said Larry.
That's, you know what? I was wondering why you asked his name. I'm like,
she'd be like Lurry, Larry.
I'm gonna start paying attention. You always do that to me. Never mind.
And you fall for it every time, but I still love you.
I sure do every single time. You the cat's in my head. I put a go. I'm like, you know his name, but I mess your animal names up sometimes. So maybe I felt like maybe you was just a little off. Get to your grind, Hugh. Thank you for stopping through, bro. All right, so let's get into the topic, which is, I must say, one of my favorite topics. It was one of my favorites of last year. It's probably one of the topics that you would think that most people would find like the knowledge is obvious, but it's not. So I just want to say I like for Dre to really go into this one first because some of your ideas I thought you put into the last time, and I would say it over and again, especially the inspections of your heat tapes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one is a big one for me. That was like for me, even when we did it, I'm like, I don't do that, let me start doing that. So I want Dre to start off with that. Right after I say this, bring your damn animals in the house. If you wearing a sweater, they should not be outside at all, even on the balcony, not on walking to the car. If you take them to the vet, they need to be properly housed, covered, placed on in the car with some heating system. Like, if you got heated seats, turn the heated seats on. If not, make sure the heat is already running in your car before you put them in. This is one of the most opportunistic times for your animal to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead, Dre.
I was just gonna say first things first. Me personally, the snakes obviously stay at the shop. The shop is heated. That room usually this time of year we bump the heat up a little bit. Although everybody has individual heat, we just want to make sure everybody is staying warm. But as for the lizards that are at home, they don't even leave this room because this room is gonna stay warmer than the rest of the house. So that's the one thing. In the wintertime, I'm sketchy with everything. Just keep them in a room. They can stay in here. I know it's warm. But back to what you were talking about with the I literally just did my heat tape last month because I knew it was coming. So every year I replaced my heat tape just to make sure it's working properly. And I built my own racks, so my racks don't have a groove where the heat tape sits down, so my tubs actually touch the heat tape. And over time, opening and closing it does wear them out, and sometimes it can cause an issue where there's a scratch or a rip, and it can catch or anything like that can happen. So I do heat tape maintenance, and I just double check everything. I even check. So Django, the big 7-foot retic, he has a heat emitter, but his enclosure also came with a heat mat. So I ended up replacing that as well, just to make sure he has added heat under his hide because it gets cold here, and I don't want to take any chances. The one thing I'm trying out this year that I haven't done yet before, because I've noticed, so the green tree python, he's not like in front of the window, but his enclosure is the closest to the window. He's still like a good 5 feet from the window, and I went to check his basking spot, and it dropped down to 82. So I ended up in the temp on his thermostat, and it didn't seem to work, and I don't want to run his thermostat super high, so I had put it on 98, and I took it back down. I ended up adding just a big piece of the heat tape to the back of the enclosure just for added heat. And
now Django is the retic though, right?
Django's the retic. Venus is my green tree. So my
Oh,
green
so
tree is the one.
Venus
Yeah.
is who drop. Okay, got you.
So yeah, Venus. I'm sorry. I guess I didn't transition to that well. So and then Django's enclosure is in the way back of the shop. But Venus, my green tree, he's like I said, like 5 foot from this window, and I noticed his temp drop. So I don't know if the radiant heat panel that's in there. I don't know if it like whatever. It's still
So,
warm, but it made me want to add some heat tape on it. It's been
or
on there for what's up.
stop the draft in the window, because like for me, same
That's the
thing.
thing.
Or
The
anything
window's
on the
sealed.
floor here.
The window's sealed. The window's sealed
So
all year
is he
round.
on the floor?
Hell no.
Because
He's
what
been
I
in my
noticed
reptile
here
before.
is, because some of them are on the same exact enclosure, same exact stack, same exact heating panels. The ones that's closer to the window and the one that's closer to the full floor is the ones that have those shifts. So what I did was it's not good to close your vents off all the way, because what happens is it's fine if we're running the house heat, because the floor, I guess, is holding the ambient temperature too. The issue is, like, I don't like running the house heat, because my room gets so much more warmer than, because it has those double vents because of the ceilings, than any other room in the house. And y'all know I hate to be hot. So like I tell my husband, if you turn the heat on, me run the fan too, because I hate to be hot. So what we do is I actually covered one side of the heat where he is, and that window is sealed, but I put like a what you call it, like an insulation right there, and that seems to help it from having that fluctuation, because he's on the same stack, same radiant heat panel. There's all the other three that's right there, but him on the floor and Pearl, the one right here. Because normally, even right now, hers will beep around this time. If you remember, around this time of the year, it will beep. The only reason why it's not beeping is because I'm literally running a heater right now, not the house heat, but a heater right by her to help offset that on that side. No, it's not your. I think it's the locations, because sometimes what I love about when Pro Products make your heating panels, for example, like the ones that's on Pro Products, they literally customize their heat panel to location. Like they will even tell you like to do different temperature readings and all of that. So I noticed with the ones that have the Pro product, they don't have those fluctuations, but the ones that have the same radiant heat panel in that room and this one right here, they are on the floor or closer to the window. They're the only ones that have those fluctuations. And for me, it's not an issue. They don't have them when the house heat is running. But like the house heat, I turned on last week, right? But I turned it off because it got warm again yesterday. Like it got a little hot.
Yeah, it was like 60 here.
Yeah, so 60 outside, and we running heat in the inside. It's too hot here. So I turned it back off. And so therefore I noticed Michael's berm being one, and Pearl, who's the other berm, which I don't trip too much because the berm can take the lower temperatures, but you don't want it dropping too low, like you said. And we're not at the coldest month yet. So I think that's something that a lot of people got to think about when you talk about heat panels. Like to what Grace saying, should I add another heat panel? Yes, you could, but then the issue is that when you don't need those two heat sources, you gotta revert like this. You gotta find something in between that keeps you from doing, I think, all that extra work from upping it and bringing it back.
Yeah, see with me, he has the Green Tree Python has a heat panel
Hey,
inside the
Sean,
enclosure.
hey, bro.
All I did was I just added a strip of heat tape on the back, on the outside, just to make sure for good measure. And now that I think about it, I think that since it's it's still a store, I think that's just from people coming in and out of the door because there's no screen, so that draft. But since I added the heat tape 2 months ago, and since then I haven't had any issues. The temperature is holding steady. All the other reptiles are doing good. I'm still getting Venus just shed. So I'm not super worried about it, but it's something I wanted to jump on before because I know with green trees, they're a little more prone to temperature change than most of my other snakes. So I wanted to the emerald over here, cool life. What up, dog? Cool. But the green tree is the one that I wanted to make sure was cool. And the reason he's right there is because I need more things on his enclosure plugged in versus the emerald. So he's right there because it has the most plugs in the area. And then also now in the daytime, I have a space heater, but it has a timer on it. So, it's on a timer, so it kicks on at a certain time. So that's been helping too. So But that's why I'm also going over there every day, and everybody's doing good. So I've been running that little operation 2-3 months now, but gotta roll with the punches, and I'm gonna do anything and everything to take care of my crew. So
another thing to think about is even though it's cold outside, if you have enclosures, like for instance, y'all know in the other room I have the baby retics in clear tubs. Those clear tubs are not too far, probably what 1, 2, 3, about 5 feet away from a window, a bay window. And when it warms up outside, I have to be conscious of what type of heat is being emitted, even though it's cold outside technically. But you know, that reflection of the sun hitting the window can cause additional reflection of heat going to those tubs. So that's something else that you have to consider in positioning of the material of the enclosure near the windows. Because even though it can be cold and maybe you bumped your heat up for your reptiles, you know, because you're in situations like me and Dre, it gets cold as hell, it gets real in the winters here. You got to be conscious of where they position and how close they are to the window. So I had to roll those racks up a little higher. One of the things that we always talk about is setting those alarms on your thermostats. I'm guilty of it. Like certain thermostats, the alarms are set, and certain thermostats, they are not, because I can just read them visually. But this is the time of year that you want to set the alarms. And very importantly, for those of y'all who, like myself, who use like a Hertzstat 6 or something like that, or if you use the individuals, like on a larger retic enclosures, I use the Inkbirds. You want to make sure those alarms are set. A lot of us, when we set them up, we did not trigger those alarm. We triggered to have like the alarm for the temperature variations, right? But you got to turn some of them on in those systems, like literally hit the button to turn them on. So make sure that you have not assumed because you created the temperature variance that you want to be notified on. Make sure that alarm is on at that particular time, because I always say I'd rather for it to go cold than to overheat. So I like to know if it gets too hot. And my answer to anybody, if I'm not home, is to unplug it if I don't have control of it from where I am. Just unplug it. I'd rather for the animals to get cooler than too hot. So just keep in mind to do that. The other thing is generators. We talk about this all the time. And y'all, unfortunately, the cost of generators have doubled. Like I'm talking about one that you could have got for $5,000 is now $10,000, $11,000. So if you can't afford a generator, like most of us, you know, just can't go out and get new generators. Thank God we have what we have. But if that shall malfunction, or I still say it's sufficient for all areas of the house. We are moving the tables inside now to be downstairs, which means technically the generator that we have would only cover the reptile level, like the main level. It won't cover that. So now we got to think about that. That's how I know that they cost a whole lot of money compared to when we bought them, you know, and we're looking to buy them years ago. So if you have a generator that only covers a certain area, but say you purchase more animals and you put them in different areas, you need to talk to your generator company, whoever you're using, to make sure that the areas you thought were covered in your home are actually covered. Because I think for me, that wasn't even like, I never, all the years of keeping, never even living in Maryland, considered having a generator. Because one thing about living in certain areas, especially in the close to the DC area, the metro DC area, you're not going to go without power too long because the government is ran around here, right? Like they ain't going to let shit stay shut down too long. They're not going to let lights be out too long. So the power normally doesn't go down for a long time. But I'm sure the people in Texas 3 or 4 years ago thought that too. And felt like, you know, it never happens and it never will. It can happen to any of us anywhere. So what are the alternatives for us who can't go out here and buy the $20,000 generator for your 5,000 square feet home, you know, or the 30,000 generator for your 5,000 square foot home? How do you isolate those animals to one area so that the generator, that area that it does cover, is covered? One thing we did from the situation with Larry last year, and y'all remember me saying it, oh no, it won't ever happen again. We literally had the electrician come in about a month ago and literally changed the whole electrical setup in the garage area so that Larry, everything that controls Larry is on one electrical circuit and pole and everything. So, which was something that was never necessary until that freak accident happened. And we trying to figure out why I didn't pick up on the team. Well, it didn't because the team didn't cover that area. So we didn't cover that area. So we had to put him on an own separate pole and make sure that's all connected. So it's just like things that, you know, thank God Larry ended up being okay, but we was very close to losing my baby. And you know, but it's not something that, like, everything else was covered. You know, we had all alarms. The way I needed the temperature dropped was through an alarm system through my phone. You know, so we had all the other things set in place, but the things that were set in place for the snakes did not automatically kick in for him because they were on two different poles. So I don't know shit about electrical. So that was a good learning experience to let me understand and know later on in the future. To who channel, Sean? Oh, you want to talk to somebody else in the chat because I'm great. If you was just subbing. You talk to somebody else in the chat. Got to be. Darlene said my power is on the same thing as the courthouse here, so my electricity gets fixed pretty quickly, thankfully. Yeah. So if you live in areas like that, like I said, like here, they ain't gonna let it get dark too long. They're not gonna let it freeze too long. They're gonna make sure they get it up and running. You're a little luckier, but all of us don't have that blessing. Sean said I was talking to Darlene. I was like, Sean. Dre, what else you got? I know we talk about the making sure that we have the heating systems, the alarms, transportation. When you do have to take your animal back and forth to the doctors, like I am right now with the cow, y'all. The cow might have cancer. We're praying and hoping not. First of all, I don't think it's like I told the doctor, she's eating too good for it to be something like that. But remember, I told you when 2 years ago she had an abscess in her mouth, and I had to take her again the same time 2 years later. So they're treating it now. Which looking at her yesterday, it looks like that's going away. So we may be ruling out cancer, but the fact that it came back for no reason, like before, it seemed like the broken tooth triggered it. This time, like it was like a weird, like just out of the blue. Like literally, I had just did a video about that situation, and then it came out of the blue. I mean, she's eating, like won't stop eating or anything. When we give her medicine, she's you know her normal self. Like she's so used to being medicated. She's the one animal that I've had that had some type of tubing in the mouth. On and off. So she's really good with medicating her, which I probably will do a video for that, for behind the scenes, how we give her medicine. Nothing. She's still roaming, still active and everything like that. So hopefully if it is cancer, we caught it soon enough. The only unfortunate thing is that it can only be treated through removal. And that means putting her to sleep, which is very risky for an animal. But y'all already know, like I told them, I ain't got no money. I got money in the bank, and to do everything we can to save her. She's fine. Like even right now today, she's fine. It's just that you take her to the doctors and they do the test that they do. The doctor, feels like it concerns him that it came back for no reason. Like it's not like she injured herself or anything like that. And it came back for no reason. So he just want to make sure we giving her, like, she's taking full medications now. If these medications don't 100% eradicate her, then we'll put her to sleep to do the biopsy to determine if it's cancer, to determine if it has to get removed, which is very risky for especially large snakes. So I'm hoping we don't have to take that route, but I'll keep y'all posted. As y'all can see, I'm not crying, so I'm encouraged. By the way that she's acting and eating and everything, I think she's just absolutely fine. Her blood work shows, there's no signs of infections or anything like that. So the only other thing it can be is something like a cancer, because it's nothing triggering her to have this reoccurrence. She didn't hurt herself or anything. But with that being said, transportation to and from. Fortunately, I have vehicles that have heated seats. And I never turn the heated seats on except for when I put the animals in. So I'll get in there and I'll put them on the back seat, and I'll turn the heated seats on that side to set to their temperature, not to mine. I don't bump it up to 85, because 85 in a car is still hot for a snake. And that's something else you got to be considered. The reflection, if you drive it in the sunlight that comes in, even though it's cold outside, can create heat increases in there. One of the things I'll do, and I'll give you a tip when I travel to shows, is I'll take one of the little monitors I use for the incubators, and put them in there and monitor what the temperatures inside the enclosures are while I'm driving. So if something spikes crazy or drops crazy, I'll know, even though I'm right in the car with them. So that's just something to do, to just be extra cautious to make sure that there's no spikes. Ozzy told a story one time of when he used to do shows, and he had his snake in the back seat, and a couple of them on the floor on a very cold day. And the heat was on, and never thinking that the heat at his feet is coming straight from back to where that snake was in the back, and lost like a $15,000 snake that, it was his snake, but it was worth $15,000. So it was just something that, we learn from learning experiences, but I like to share things like that when we hear it, because we don't think about that. We think about what we feel a lot of times. And we got to remember, what is it? I can't remember. Someone gave me this number before. If I feel like I'm 79 degrees as a human being, our snake is 20 degrees less than us. Do anybody remember that or know what I'm talking about? Like the temperature variance of feeling between what we feel as warm-blooded animals and what they would feel as cold-blooded animals. So we'll say, damn it, it's hot. And to them, it's comfortable. Or we'll say, dang it, it's, it's cold. And to them, it's too cold. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's actually a temperature variance. I have to X cap it, because that's probably who gave that to me. But I think it's like 20 degrees difference. So if we're outside in the heat and we're saying it's 75, to them it's more like 95 or vice versa type of thing. I'm gonna find it. I'll have that answer for y'all the next time. I think it's 20 degrees though. Yep, I use the push buttons. Yep, same thing I put in the incubator. That makes me comfortable when we're driving an hour and a half. What's up, Phil? Phil, are you at the show next week? So that's something to think about. The other thing is going back to that incubator. So this is time of the year that a lot of us are breeding. We'll start putting eggs in the incubator a few months. It's a good time to test your incubators now, like get them up and running, make sure that they're running before you start putting animals in there. And then you also want to make sure the location of your incubators, especially like I'll use the Wilbanks one, for example. You will see big temperature differences if you have that incubator near a bay window or something like that, where a lot of sun comes in, because it has that glass front to it, and it's tall. So it's not like the sea serpent one that is, it's tall, but it's not all glass as much as that one is. Okay, I'll see you then, Phil. Be conscious of that too. And always make sure that with your incubators, you're not just going by what I do is I go by what the thermometer reads. I go by what the built-in thermostat reads, and I also temp gun different areas of that incubator as well. Because I also noticed that unless you're putting the reader something reading the temperature on every rack, you're not getting the accurate reading. And even though that, I would say with the wheel banks, it's not off. It's probably off by, if it ever gets off, by point something. Like it's on points everywhere you go in there. But I noticed with the sea serpent that you can have different variations from the top to the bottom. So just like stuff like that, just keep all of that in mind. Good morning, Stan.
I got multiple thermometers. I got like 3 heat guns. I got some digital ones because they're all off by a degree or two. So I kind of just want like a good roundabout estimate, but I'm checking everything every day because you just never know. I talked about the heat tape sometime malfunctioning and it could catch on fire. There's also situations where the heat tape can just generally stop working in a certain area and then your snake is cold. So we check every level every time.
And paying attention, like when you were inspecting your snakes in the morning and afternoon, their positions. If I know that every snake I have is in the same position, I'm going to automatically grab the heat gun because that's weird. That's just, I don't have like, I can't go to a rack and all of them are in the same exact place.
Yeah,
like,
if all of mine is at the front, I'm like, uh-oh.
Something's wrong. Like, what is the same?
If they all at the front of their enclosures by the water bowl and a little too spicy in there for them.
Yeah,
that usually only happens like in the summertime, like because I'll either lower the temperature or depending on how hot it gets here, because we turn off the heat in the summertime, but sometimes it still gets like humidly hot in that building, so we'll turn off all the heat sources because the tubs can be completely dry, but the water bowls I have in there, it still just make them sweat. And I'm just like, God damn. So sometimes I have to go over there, check on everybody, and wipe down the sides because there's still so much humidity. But there's always adjustments to be made depending on where you're at and how your setups are. Because man, the summer I'll be like, all right, it's a little too hot for this.
Yeah.
If I had bearded dragons, they would love it.
People in areas who run ambient, you should always have a backing system for heat as well, because if you're running ambient, that's coming off of your whole home. So therefore, if the power is totally out, you want to be able to find like other options to help source, and it's not going to be electrical options, right? So sometimes I hear people say, well, I run ambient. Well, you definitely need a generator. Because sometimes people think in their mindset, because they run ambient. Yes, ambient works when the temperature is ideal. When the temperature is not ideal, then you need to have some subsequent heating system. So definitely keeping that in mind as well. And then the other thing is water sources. So I know for myself, I winterize Lurie for the winter, and the Tagos, it won't be no big deal this year because they'll be inside now. But Lurie gets winterized before we turn the water beds off on the outside. You may not need to do that everywhere. Here in Maryland, you definitely we turn off the outside water beds and turn it on only when we need it. Because if you keep that line open, as cold as it gets, it will freeze and it can cause pipe bursts into your homes and things like that. So if you haven't winterized your animals who are external and you do need to turn off water beds, this is the time to do it because the weather is definitely changing. You want to start changing out that water now, putting the new enzymes in there, whatever you use to help treat the water. And Lurie will keep that water until the season changes again. So that's his water. That's that we are filtering for the next few months. We don't constantly change it out during the wintertime. We found that it works better. Keeps them healthy, I believe, too, because you're not pouring in cold water all the time. You just, filtering the water that's there. But with that being said, you have to make sure that you're cleaning the filter more than when you're letting that, what you call it, that I call it rinse, go longer. So that's something else to think about when you're dealing, and ways to conserve water this time of year. Because like a lot of us, especially if you breed rats, I don't clean rats, and like their tubs is all cleaned outside, not inside at all. So we might decide to keep the front water hose bib turned off and only turn the back water hose bib on every now and then to just do that type of cleaning, for example, and then turn that back off. Like whatever you can to minimize your chances of, you need the water sources for the animal, but you do not want to create issues in your water lines as well. And we use them so much that we always have like water in the line somewhere. So that's how a lot of freezes happen. If you're not in these areas, over here in the East Coast, you probably don't even have to worry about that. But again, I always say Texas didn't think they had to worry about any of this stuff either until it actually happened. So good morning, Wiz. Good morning, bro. Dana, I hope she gets better.
One thing I want to say, I do it all year round, but it's really important in the wintertime. There's a lot of people, I've run into a lot of reptile keepers actually that know this. There's a lot of people who give their snakes just like ice cold water out of the faucet. Please stop doing that. Let the water, if the same water you want your snakes to soak in is the same water you should put in their bowl. It should not be ice cold because it can send your snake into shock if it's too cold. They're warm blooded, so you got to be careful with that.
The funny thing is, it's very rare that this water gets ice cold. It's very rare, but I know what you mean. Like, you cannot run it. Well, the funny thing is, I can't speak of smaller snakes or all snakes. Retics know that water's too cold. If you ever see a retic go over there and be like, fuck no. Like, seriously, like, they want the water, they be like, oh, nah, I'll be back. Like, that is a good point. People don't realize that because you think giving them fresh water means giving them cold water. And cold water can literally, especially for a smaller snake.
It's just like us. If we eat ice cream, it doesn't necessarily change our body temperature, but it chills our body. We're like, ooh, a snake, it can actually drop their temperature. Yeah, so I learned that a long time ago. I was working at this pet store, and I remember I was a bunch of cold water in a bucket, and it was a ball python that had like I put back in the enclosure after cleaning it. His tail hit it, and he pulled that before I was asleep. He was like, oh no, he pulled his tail out so fast. So I had to grab the heat gun, and that water was like 40 degrees. I was like, oh, that's way too cold. So,
and that's the same thing with your lizards. Like, we run, so that's another good topic. For those of us who have big monitors in those big pools, this is the time of year that you have to turn the heat back on. I turn mine off on the summer because there's no need. The way it's set up in there, that ambient keeps that water warm in the summertime because it's pulling a lot of the outside heat too in there. But this time of year is when I do have to turn his heater back on. So after we do the full water condition, that water comes back on to keep that temperature where it's comfortable for him. For my monitor, he doesn't like it too cold and he doesn't like it too hot. So I normally put him right about 80, no more than 85. If it goes higher than 85, we will shut it. The the thermostat will shut it off. It has a built-in thermostat. But that's another important point. You want to make sure that you're checking those water heaters for those big pools to make sure that there's no issues, that they're working and they're functioning as well. Because the one thing that can definitely shock a big lizard, because it's too late if they jump into cold water. I mean, you know what I mean? Like cold water, that their whole bodies are immersed. And even if it doesn't kill them, it definitely would send them into some type, or can cause them to have some type of respiratory infection.
I feel like cold water will kill your reptile faster than water that's a little warmer than it's supposed to be. With cold water, just send them to like that shock. It's like they're like, this is way too cold, way too cold.
Yeah, Jess, that's a good thing to do too.
Yep. So room temp or water that's not cold. I heat gun all of my water too. I check it because you just never know.
Yeah, all right. We gotta get on fresh cold water. Jess said, Darlene, I use heavy water bowls to avoid them able to spill. The test bowls with my hand if I can tip so they can. Yeah, I do the same thing, especially with the retics. I definitely, but then it's come to a point with retics, you just got to take the bigger water bowls out because unless you put concrete in that bitch, seriously, when I saw Maui move full water, take his water bowl and slide that bitch from one side to the other, full of water, I'm like, yeah, that's coming out there. You are not about to flood this enclosure.
Listen, I don't think there's anything that we can do as humans that can compete with the strength of a large snake. Those are some strong ass animals. And personally, this is just how I feel in my opinion. You can do all the tests you want, but if that snake wants to rearrange their enclosure, unless you securing it to the enclosure, it's gonna get moved. It's gonna get moved.
Yep. And then you can't secure it for the retic because they make messes all the time. So you'll be it will be too much to take it, So so at some point I just take it out. But when they're out a lot, I let them soak or I don't let the retics go in my shower like some people do, not because I'm worried about that. It's because my tables go in the bathroom all the time. But I'm so afraid of them pulling down stuff, like pulling down the shower doors and stuff like that. The first thing they want to do is hang and go.
Get on the shower curtain.
Yeah, all I hear is glass coming down. So I don't let them do it, but they do have like big tubs and stuff like that. They will climb in, when like they're good at telling you when they want to get in water, unlike ball pythons can care less if you bring them water or not, soak them in water or not. So I typically don't, worry too much about them. They don't typically turn their bowls over, but, and the boas don't even, it's just that the retics and every now and then the berms. The retics has got this thing about rearranging their houses. Like they just one day wake up and say, "This is not how I want it to be. I want this over here. I want this over there. Put that in the corner. All right, I'm gonna do it my damn self." And then you come down and you like, "What the?"
Maybe, and it's crazy because they'll literally move it and they'll just leave it there. They won't touch it after that, and then you put it right back in that same spot, and they will move it again the next time. And you be like,
they know what they want. I think it's their way of making the ideal situations for them. So let's say, for instance, I keep my big water bowls on the side where the heat is to keep the humidity up, right? Well, maybe that's not what the snake wanted that day. Maybe he wanted it over here to chill a little bit more. So because think about it. It takes work for them to do that by themselves. So for them to be so insistent on doing it, it must bring them some type of alternative accommodation that we can't provide at the moment, and they know that they have the strength to do their stuff. It's pretty impressive.
I mean, it's also a very unwanted source of enrichment.
Right. It takes work. Like they have to be putting in muscle work because a big old mortar bowl of water can be moved by a 14-foot retic. That's absolutely weird as crap to me, and I've never understood like how much work it is. Well, maybe it's
not. So Django is 7.5 foot, and I go to the shop one night at like 2 a.m. I don't turn on the lights. I'm just doing a little spot check, and I literally sit there in the dark and watch this fool move. He has a cat litter pan so he can get in there and soak, and it's filled not all the way. It's like 3/4 of the way. And I see him literally move it from one side of his enclosure to the next without spilling a drop. And I just, why are you like that? Like, so he puts it over on the warm side. I was like, this motherfucker want a jacuzzi.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I put the water bowls on the warm side now, but T'Challa, I told you, T'Challa was like 6 months. No, she wasn't even that old. She was about 5 months old. I probably had her about a month when I came down here. And I remember calling Randy and saying, look, I know how I set up this enclosure. Does this animal have the ability to move stuff? And he bust out laughing. He was like, absolutely. You ain't saying nothing yet. And T'Challa was, she was young. She wasn't a huge snake yet. Now, the one who moves it the most now is the cow. The cow would totally rearrange stuff. The Motley Moschino would totally rearrange stuff. The Motley Tiger, he always rearranges stuff. It's crazy.
My cow's starting to become a real problem.
I'm just saying, like they that's impressive that they know what they want, and which is crazy. That's the part of the animal y'all we won't never understand. We can't get in their head at that moment. Like people think they don't know. No, that is very, like what Dre said, intentional. And you can talk to plenty of retic people. This is not a incidental thing. They will rearrange the furniture in there. What does that mean for them? Like, why? What's their why? Because it's not just their water bowls. I've seen them move their hides too.
Hides, substrate. Don't get me started on cleaning pooping in the water. Don't get me started on that. That's a whole different level of nasty. And then I have an anaconda. Horrible. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. My anaconda smells worse than my large snakes. She is horrible with it. She's only about 4 foot, and she can clear a room. You said what?
She eats the same thing that they eat.
Great rats. Yeah, everybody eating rats.
Is it because she spend more time in the water?
Definitely.
Yeah, because I noticed that even with the larger retics, they like to soak in the water to help them digest. Mm-hmm. And so, but that's the only time you really see them sitting in the water.
So she spends almost as much time in the water as my caiman does.
Right.
So they literally eat in the water, and then like 4 foot, she's laying human
Take you
logs.
out.
You open that enclosure and it just bam. You like, oh my god, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
But I mean, I think at the end of the day, like I said, I think it would be so cool if we could spend more time, like if we really could get more into their heads. But the part of keeping that I love is watching and monitoring that and having these conversations, right? Because you'll think that if you're a person, especially if a person kind of keep on like the down low type of thing, you don't really talk a lot about what your animals do. The more and more we have these conversations, the more and more other people would expect it. And like I said, I don't take anything for granted for any of them. I find a lot, even the ball pythons, like the intelligence of these animals, we don't give them enough credit for their ability to adapt. That's why they're one of the longest living animals on earth, right? So, but with the retics, it's absolutely exceptional just to see an animal who wakes up and just decide, well, this is how I want it to be today. Thank you. But this is how it's going to be in here today. And then I leave it that way, like, because I think it, that's the way you wanted it. So when I clean and rearrange, I'll put it back in that same way, and then they'll rearrange it again. So instead of going, from the cool side to the hot side, they'll move it from the hot side. Mystical, the pie. We don't know where his water bowl is going to be on any given day.
I think personally they don't like how we do it. They got to put bait touch on.
Who told you to come in here and move my furniture around? Like, I don't know what it is, but it's definitely a cool thing. So we're gonna wrap it up, y'all. I do want to say, just as remember, we are in the winter months. Most important, I can't think of many places that you live now, other than for the exception of Florida, and even Florida has been really, really cold. Bring your animals in. Limit your exposure to taking them outside. Even in areas where it's not freezing cold, 75 degrees is still cold for most snakes to be outside, except for a corn snake, probably. So, and if you're transporting them in and out, that draft of cold air, if you feel it, they feel it. So if you need a sweater to go out your door, they feel it. Take a blanket or something to cover them up until you get them in the car to give them the proper heat to transport them to where they need to go. It's the best for you and the health of your animals and your mental health as well. And that's all we have. And I'll keep you all posted on what's going on with the cow. Actually, I'm documenting everything because I got little pieces, so it'll probably end up being a final video, whatever it turns out to be. That's not my favorite, but one of my favorites for sure. So we definitely are doing everything for her, but she's fine. Like, she doesn't even seem like anything's wrong. So, but if it's anything that's gonna, impact her quality of life, then I will have to make that decision down the road. I'm just hoping we don't have to make the decision. Every time I give her medicine, I have a conversation I'm having with her. Like, you gotta make sure the medicine go all the way down. We don't want you to spit nothing out. You need all of it. And it's expensive. So please make sure you take it all. But hoping and praying that she makes out well. But I'll keep y'all posted. And if she does not, that's a whole nother episode. Frey might be doing 10 in the podcast on the
we're not even gonna put that out there. She's gonna be all right.
Exactly. Right now, as y'all can see, I'm very up because she's up. Like, she doesn't act like anything's wrong, but we all know even with our human cells, something can be going on the outside and we may not know it. And if she doesn't seem bothered at this time, except for when I'm sticking stuff in her mouth, putting stuff down her throat. So hopefully she feels better soon. It looked better yesterday for sure, but I think that's too because the first application of the medicine, he gave it to her as a shot form, but it was real thick. And it was a process. So I prefer the liquid to give to her at home. But yeah, we'll do everything we got to do to make her better. Y'all all have a great weekend.
Have a great week.
Just remember, life is short. Live a little, live a little, live a little. Peace.